news here in a glorious batshit bonkers Britain, where Labour are hot out of the gates this morning saying that maybe it's not such a brilliant idea for the UK to import all of Pakistan into our country, and that majority Pakistani Muslim men mainly come here and claim asylum. Oh, do you think, Labour? What they're really trying to do here is grab the headlines. They don't want you talking about the fact that Labour got utterly trounced in the local elections and lost to Reform. Well done to everybody from Reform. In other news, universities say that they don't have enough funding and are going to have to cut courses. Oh, what a pity. We need to get rid of about 80% of British so-called universities. The market doesn't need more supply of graduates with a 2-1 in something useless. They can't get a job in Sainsbury's. And I say to young people, just because you don't know what you want to do doesn't mean you should go to university. Go and do something else, anything else, work, graft. Find people who are grafting and offer to join them. Go to places where people still care about their country or their property and help them make it look nice. Whatever you want to do, university is not all that. You'll end up on a campus being told what to think by some disabled black vegan pescatarian with a soy latte who demands that you think the same as they think. And finally, money is going to be spent on surgeries to encourage doctors to see more patients. I don't think it's actually wallpaper or paint that's the issue. I think it's Fat Brenda on the front desk, who rather enjoyed lockdown and now sees patients as a sort of inconvenience and as a barrier to her being able to sit on her arse and eat cake. I think the real problem here is receptionists and other staff who need to be told that their job is to look after patients, their job is to help patients, and they need to get back to doing that and stop shoving cake in their face. That's it. Batshit bonkers Britain. Breaking news here in batshit bonkers Britain, where it has been a glorious 3 days where we've been allowed to see the sun. And of course, after 3 days of being allowed to see the sun, what's happening to the skies overhead? I say to this government and all others, stop spraying us with shit that we never gave you permission to spray us with. If you're wondering where all the butterflies have gone, just look up. In other news, India and Pakistan on the brink of war. India has the ability and the nuclear capability to completely annihilate Pakistan after Islamist attacks on Hindu tourists in the area. The only question none of us can quite answer is, would it be such a bad thing if Pakistan was wiped from the face of the planet? And finally, the Pope selection begins and the conclave arouses itself in the Vatican City. All internet connection has been disconnected. Nothing is allowed in or out while they decide who the next pope is going to be. Is it going to be some massive woke left-leaning popey, or is it going to be the one that we want that says everybody has the right to be in their own countries and defend their own culture? Either which way, nothing is going in or out, only food, and that can be brought by very, very, very young boys. Anyway, that's it. Back bonkers Britain. News here in batshit bonkers Britain, where in the battle of the weight loss jabs, Mount Kilimanjaro has come out on top. Mount Kilimanjaro has beaten Wegovy and Ozempic in a fully funded study that was fully funded and paid for by Mount Kilimanjaro. Either way, fat people are feeling better, and that is a good thing. In other news, Trump accepts a plane from Qatar, a luxury, leather-clad luxury situation, which is perfect, of course, because we want him to travel in comfort. At the same time, do we want the leader of the free world travelling in a plane that has been purchased by the religion of the shoe bomber? The religion of peace. And finally, terrible news for Macron and his little gay buddies, caught on a train with either a tissue and a coffee stirrer or heroin and a small spoon. No one can be sure because of AI. What we can be certain of is it looks very much like when you go onto Pornhub and go to the homosexual erotica section. And maybe that is what's going on the train. Either way, I wouldn't want to watch it. That's it, my darlings. Back bonkers Britain. Breaking news here in batshit bonkers Britain, where Keir Starmer's homes have been firebombed. Now, clearly, it is not okay to firebomb anyone's home, even if they are a complete Keir Starmer now says he's the guy that's going to control our borders. The same Keir Starmer that decriminalised illegal immigration, has prioritised illegals over our own good people, has thrown them into hotels and generally prioritised them for housing as well, and wanted to make sure that anyone who spoke out against illegal immigration was called far right and put in prison. But now suddenly he's all for it. He also says that those arriving in our country should speak English. Maybe he could go to Birmingham or Bradford or Luton or Leicester or any other of his voting areas and say that, because none of them will understand a bloody word. And finally, President Donald J. Trump starts bringing in our beautiful South African family as refugees and asylum seekers into the USA. They are hunted in their own lands by black gangs and they are tortured in their own home, plasmawed. I say a massive biadanki to President Donald J. Trump and to Elon Musk and to all of our South African family. The world is starting to wake up and I could not be more pleased. If the ANC could just unban me from South Africa, I'd go back and say it in person. That's it. Batshit bonkers Britain. Breaking news here in Batshit Bonkers Britain, where Trump has managed to annoy all of the strict Muslims across Great Britain and France and Germany by coming out on stage in Saudi to the strain of YMCA. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is obviously a bit of a legend. Never has one gay anthem been used so brilliantly to annoy so many men dressed in a white gown, a slide and a sock. In other news, the BBC has a dating show called I Kissed a Boy, except obviously they've had to insert a trans boy, i.e. a biological woman. And none of the contestants can complain about that because that would be transphobic, even though you can't really be transphobic now because the Supreme Court just said that you can only be a woman if you're a biological woman. Either which way, it's Tim Davie at the BBC that you need to complain to. And finally, Stacey Solomon. I was sticking up for her the other day when people were being mean about her family, but now she's moaning that she didn't get a BAFTA for that crappy TV show, Sort Your Life Out, where basically you go into people's homes that have got too much. You put all the into plastic tubs and containers into places where no one can ever reach it anymore, and that's the TV show if you're thick as But I would say this, Stace, it's not bloody hard work, is it, love? You're not tidying the interdental brushes in the supermarket shelves at night time, are you, love? Maybe it's you that needs to sort your life out. That's it. Bonkers Britain. Breaking news here in Batshit Bonkers Britain, where there's a story it seems the mainstream aren't keen to carry into this week, which is the story of the non-English speaking Ukrainian bum boy that set fire to Keir Starmer's apartment, his home, his old car and all sorts of other things. Rumour has it the bum boy was recommended to Keir by Zelensky, who'd used him often and found his services to be very enjoyable. More on that, I'm sure. In other news, Joe Biden has prostate cancer. It's aggressive and spread to his bones. We're supposed to believe that they've only just found out about that. It's not Joe Biden, is it? It's the elder abuse he's been put through at the hands of others. Remember those who platformed him and pushed him forward to be president? So that would be George Clooney, Obama, Keir Starmer did it as well. They're the ones who should be prosecuted for elder abuse. And finally, smug twat Gary Lineker, finally out at the BBC for using a rat emoji in association with an anti-Israel post that he made. Remember when he tries to act the big guy about this, he apologised for that and said he didn't know what it meant. So he wasn't a man of his word. He was trying to save his career. Any which way, I'd love to have been a fly on the wall at that last meeting with the big bosses where they told him to do one. No more Gary Lineker on our TV screens. What a great day for mankind. That's it. Bonkers Britain. Breaking news here in Batshit Bonkers Britain, where Boris Johnson has come out swinging. He says that Keir Starmer is a ball-munching, manacled gimp of the EU, and he's quite right, of course. Keir Starmer has now given away our fisheries. For 12 years, the French can continue to invade our shores and plunder our fish. So that's the farmers he's sold out to solar, the fisheries he's given away to the French, and indeed our private rental market, which he's given over to his pet illegals that he hopes will vote Labour in the future. One wonders why none of the press at the press briefing wanted to question him about Ukrainian bum boys or allegations of cocaine taking making. It's almost like they're a paid up arm of the government, isn't it? In other news, over in America, people are saying, pray for Biden. I'm not sure if you pray for something deeply evil that it kind of cancels it out. That was a man willing to act as a placeholder so that Kamala Harris could be installed as president without ever actually having to win an election. I think I'll save my prayers. All I'll say to Biden is he might need some sunscreen, because where he's going, it's going to be pretty hot. And finally, my darlings, 3 days to go. 3 days to go. If you know, you know. Just say your prayers, cross your fingers, and hope, hope, hope. Because 3 days and our man might be free. That's it, my darlings. Batshit bonkers Britain. Breaking news here in Batshit Bonkers Britain, where inflation is up to 3.5%. So just as ordinary British people realise they can't afford to buy anything, maybe even to eat, they get hit with another fine, probably a speeding fine, for doing 23 miles an hour in a 20 zone. Old Rachel Reeves, ceramic bobhead, hair by Lego, said, "This is all part of my plan for growth." She spelt growth with 2 F's. That's what you get for being the sash bint at the Halifax, I guess. In other news, another Ukrainian bum boy arrested for firebombing Keir Starmer's home. These rent boys are going to appear at the Old Bailey on the 6th of June. They're expected to arrive in a rainbow-coloured police car, dressed in fetish gear and pup play, because that's how Keir likes it. And finally, Labour have cancelled their women's conference the day before their main conference, because men who have their cocks tucked into women's panties aren't going to be allowed to attend. So Labour have cancelled their women's conference because men can't go to it. That's it. Bonkers Britain. Breaking news here in Batshit Bonkers Britain, where Tommy Robinson Crusoe is out of prison, looking very much like a man unbroken by the British state. First thing he did was to announce a festival of freedom for families and freedom lovers, from MAGA to MEGA, to unite the kingdom and everything in between, on September the 14th. Great work by him and all of you good people who've kept him going throughout his torture in solitary confinement for the crime of, oh yeah, speaking the truth. In other news, energy companies who forcibly broke into people's homes and cut them off from their energy supplies with prepayment meters are forced to pay compensation back to the people they cut off. What sort of sick society raises energy bills to the point that people simply can't afford to pay them, and then breaks into homes and cuts them off from that? Good to see some justice for those people. And finally, Trump cancels student visa interviews and applications because he doesn't want any more of these woke idiots going into America. So if you're a kid whose social media feed maybe features the fact that you're not sure what gender you are or aren't, or maybe you've been wearing a Hezbollah flag, or perhaps even you've just been generally a bit of a pain in the ass, don't be expecting to go to the States anytime soon. Shame for us, because it would be nice to get rid of a few of them, but good news for the United States of America. That's it, my darlings. Batshit Bonkers Britain. Breaking news here in Batshit Bonkers Britain, where things are as bananas as ever. Keir Starmer has developed a very unhealthy crush on Nigel Farage, mentioning his name a good 16 times in his last press briefing. He said that his father worked in a factory 10 hours a day, every day for all of his life. That's about as believable as old ceramic bobhead, hair by Lego Rachel Reeves saying she was the chief economist at the Bank of England. In other news, Russell Brand in court today. Clearly, we can't talk about that specifically, otherwise people like me end up in prison for chatting about a court case. But what I can say is, it seems the left really love a guy when he's on his knees. You know, George Monbiot making Russell Brand his hero of 2014 when they're addicted to sex or drugs or rock and roll or alcohol. But when they're a reformed character living a healthy life, suddenly they're the world's worst. And finally, a canoeist has been told he has to choose between his OnlyFans account or his bid to make the Olympic team. Paddle UK have said he has to choose between 5 rings or showing his ring on OnlyFans. That's it, my darling. Bonkers Britain.